Serum has been out for roughly 9 years, and for 8 of those years I've been using it. But there are still features that I never really use, so today I want to go over 5 of them and actually use them in sound design. So the first one is going to be modulation smoothing, which you can see right here on the LFO. This allows you to obviously smooth out the signal generated by this LFO. It will take this signal and kind of smooth it out, kind of interpolate it and turn it into a smooth version of the signal. Now for people that are bigger Vital users, they'll probably know about modulation smoothing because it's on by default and you have to turn it down on the LFOs in Vital. But in Serum it goes to 0, so what you see is what you get from the LFO. And therefore I've always drawn in the shape that I exactly wanted for the modulation. But in my opinion, where modulation smoothing can really shine if you want to make some more natural sounding sounds. So what I want to do is just go for a little bit of a pitching effect. Maybe we'll create something like a bird call or something like that. I don't really know yet. So I'm just going to open up a sine wave and I'm going to assign this to the pitch. And we'll have a plug that sounds like this. Let's go a bit higher. Now let's smooth it out. There's already a cool artifact happening here. Because we're increasing the speed here, the smoothing no longer has the chance to go all the way up, so you can hear that the final highest pitch isn't actually reached. And what we could, for example, do is use a second LFO to modulate the rate of that first one. So we go LFO 2, and then we set it to the rate of actually the first LFO. It'd also be cool to use this to control the pitch, maybe something like this. And we'll also use it to control a filter. We can do it like this so that it opens up. Let's apply a little bit of delay and reverb. And you can hear without the smoothing, it's going to sound very, very different. The second thing that I want to show you is the formula box right here. This is something that I've never played with. In theory, you could build all kinds of mathematical formulas in here and you will get the represented waveform up top. But where this also shines is creating really, really cool texture wavetables for something like a gritty synth in Psytrance. The reason for that is there's actually a text-to-speech engine built into Serum. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to type 2 parentheses and then arrow back, and then we're in the middle of them, and I can just write some text. And that will be converted into a wavetable, which actually will be the text-to-speech for the text that we just inserted. So let's remove our previous modulations and all of our other things that we had before. And let's just hear what this sounds like. It's not really that nice sounding, but if we swoop an LFO over it, you can really hear what he is trying to say. Now it's not really intelligible, you can definitely hear the idea of the text-to-speech, what it's saying, but I would suggest using this for maybe something like a glitchy synth. The way that we can do that is applying the same technique that I recently showed in my grid synths tutorial, where you just set up stuff like this. And you have a nice gritty synth. Now let's say that we want to add some randomness to this sound. One way that you can do that is through the chaos oscillator. And you might be surprised that I don't really use the chaos oscillator that much, but in normal production, when I'm doing normal Psytrance productions on my actual tracks, I never really use these. Sometimes I have a very specific idea in mind and then I go to them, but I found much better results working with the node on random. This means that I have to trigger multiple MIDI nodes to work, but it does feel like a much easier system to use randomness within your Serum patches. But let's say that we want to use this synth and we want to have the capability of holding the node down to create like a sequence. What we can do is, for example, add a filter. Let's say that we want to add a phaser to this, and we'll use this for the randomness that we want to add. Let's go with a little bit more of a complex shape. Something like this maybe. What we can do is we can assign the chaos oscillator to it. And we can already see one of the issues that I tend to have with the chaos oscillator, in that it seems to be wobbling about sometimes around the same place and then just randomly jumping to a new point, and then it continues to wobble there. I don't exactly know how it works. I know that there are different parameters that it uses for both of them. There are like differences between them. For example, here you set the Hertz mode, and here I think you set a multiple of this rate here. You also have the BPM sync, which syncs it to the BPM. You have the mono. I don't really know what this does. And then you have the sample and hold, where instead of generating a continuous signal, you'll get like a staggered signal. Something that looks like this, but then obviously randomly. What we could do is set this to BPM sync and then just sync this so that it lines up with whatever we have over here. Let's set this to trigger as well. And you can hear that we're getting the same tone over and over again, but with a different phaser position on top of that. Now the next feature, I should really use it more because it's basically an extra macro, and that's the mod wheel. The reason why I never use this is because I don't have a MIDI keyboard, and these things tend to be associated heavily with MIDI, but you can just automate this parameter here if you wanted to. So essentially you can set up your 4 macros however you want, and then you can assign stuff to this, and then this will be your 5th macro. Now obviously macros are very, very powerful, especially when you're making presets, so you can give an idea of what parameters to tweak, and having an extra macro available will make your presets more expressive. The final thing that I tend to stay away from are the special filters, and not really because I don't want to. I think these might be very, very cool filters that can really do some crazy stuff. I just never really had the time and need to actually dive into them. So let's actually do that now. Let's go for a random one. Let's go for, I don't know, the French low pass here. You can see it's not really your standard low pass. In this case, we also have a lot of resonance here, but you have this kind of extra way of adding extra spikes into it. To me, it seems like this is a low pass filter with a little bit of a low shelf. If we look at it like this, you can see it kind of going down, and then an extra peak down below here, mimicking what's happening to the resonance. You can also see some extra resonance spikes if you really turn it up a lot. And obviously there's many, many more different types of filters. I don't really know what the German filter does. It doesn't seem to be doing much actually. This variant literally does nothing here, and it just looks like a normal low pass filter. Maybe I'm missing something, maybe there's something special to it, but to me it just looks like a normal, fairly steep low pass filter here. And then obviously there's the crazy ones like the reverb one. I'm not going to go through all of the filters explaining what all of them do. Obviously, I don't use them a lot, so I really don't know what all of them do, as should be apparent from this video. I just wanted to give you some examples and point out a few different things that you can do here. And hopefully some of these features are new for you and they're useful in your sound design journeys as well. So that's actually going to be the video for today. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye bye.